Hello, this is Susan Carboni. I thought it might be helpful for me to go over how you should study for A and P and how to prepare for the midterm and the final. So I'm going to go over the sequence of events that should take place as you're studying. Then I'm going to go to the e-learning site and show you where to find some of the features that I'm going to be talking about. So number one, you need to read the textbook. What I need you to know is in the textbook. Another thing that I need you to do is I need you to listen to the vodcasts that I've put together for you. Before you listen to those vodcasts, though, I'll show you on the e-learning site where you can print out the text of the PowerPoint slides, and you can make notes on those as you're listening to the vodcasts. Once you have read the textbook, listened to the vodcast, and made notes for a particular chapter on that, the printouts of the text for the PowerPoint slides, now you're ready to put together your own study guide for each chapter. I recommend that you do this every week for the chapters that we've covered. Once you have those in place, then reviewing those will help you to prepare for the midterm. There's a lot of information that you're going to need to understand and to memorize, and you need to boil it down to a reasonable amount of information so that you can actually learn it. I'm also going to recommend that for those of you that think it's something that will help you learn, to make some flashcards. Once you've done all that, you might also want to spend time on the mastering site and look at the study tools that they have there. There's a separate vodcast that will explain to you the study tools that you have available for you on the mastering site. Then the other option that you have is that on your e-learning site there is a page of useful videos that are organized by topic and chapter, and there's also a link to useful websites that might help you additionally learn that information. So what I'm going to do now is end this PowerPoint presentation that overviews everything that we've talked about, and I'm going to go to the e-learning site on CM Connect. And I'm going to use the Bio 115 site. These techniques are also relevant for Bio 117, but I will use the Bio 115 site. And the first thing I want to show you is where you can get the printouts of the text for the PowerPoint slides. They're here. Lecture outline where the little hand is, lecture outlines, PowerPoint text only. So if you click on there, it's organized by chapter. So chapter 1 only has one file. And if you open it, you will see, oh, okay, no, that's not what I want. Okay, so here's what I want. So this is the text that will be on the first slide. So print these out. These will make a pretty wonderful study guide, but you're going to want to add some things to them and then maybe recreate another study guide. There may be too much information here on some of these slides that's here for explanatory reasons. There may not be enough of certain details, so you're going to want to modify those. So print these out. You'll have them available to you to write on as you are listening to the vodcast. Okay, so you've read the chapter. You've listened to the vodcast, you've made your notes on the printouts that you've made. Now you're going to want to move into making that study guide for the chapter 1. Okay, so then you're going to want to go back to your e-learning site, and there is a link to chapter objectives. Click on that, and then here's the chapter 1 objectives. I already have it loaded, so I'm going to find that. And so for chapter 1, here are some of the objectives. First of all, in the overview of anatomy and physiology section, it says that you should be able to define anatomy and physiology and describe their subdivisions. You also want to explain the complementarity of structure and function. So from the notes, from the chapter, from the notes that you've taken from the vodcasts, I'm going to show you an example of what a study guide might look like. And I've actually uploaded this study guide to the e-learning site. So here I have anatomy bolded, and I have written the definition of anatomy, the study of the structure of body parts and their relationship to one another. And then the topics that we talk about in anatomy are gross or macroscopic, systemic, surface, microscopic, and a subset of microscopic is cytology and histology. These are all different subsets of anatomy. Then the definition of physiology, the function of the body and how it works. The topics that we talk about in physiology are related or organized by organ system. I also have included in this study guide the complementarity of structure and function. So what that means is that what a structure can do, its physiology, depends on its specific form, which is its structure. So basically this says that physiology is dependent on anatomy. Okay, so now let me get back to the objectives. So you have fulfilled the first objective. The next one is the levels of structural organization. So it basically says to name the different levels, and the number 4 is list the organ systems. So if we go back to the study guide that I've put together, what you find here is that I have typed in the levels. If you need more detail in your study guide, if you need to explain in your study guide what these levels are and how they relate to one another, put that in your study guide. This is my study guide, so I don't have as much information in there as you might need, so the study guide should be hand-tailored. And then I've put a table together that basically fulfills the other objective, which is to know the body systems, their function, and their organs, and it's nicely put in here in a nice concise manner. Okay, let's go back to the objectives. Then it says maintaining life. Wants you to list the functional characteristics necessary to maintain life. I call those the necessary life functions. And then there's also 5 survival needs. So if we go back to the study guide, then you will see a little further in the study guide the maintaining life, the 8 necessary life functions. In parentheses, I've put a little bit of information associated with each of those, so I know the relevance of those necessary life functions. And then what's important to understand is that those necessary life functions are a different list than what we consider the survival needs of the human body. So here in this section, I have listed the survival needs of the human body. And I can't stress this enough. There is a lot of memorizing that goes along with this course and what you need to know when you take the midterm and the final. So you should have bare minimum what's on these study guides. You need to have that memorized. So let's go back to the objectives then and see what's left. Well, homeostasis is left. We want to define homeostasis. We want to describe how negative and positive feedback maintain homeostasis, and we describe the relationship between homeostatic imbalance and disease. So the way I've put the study guide together is I have defined homeostasis as the ability of the body to maintain a stable environment even if the external environment is changing. When a homeostatic variable, such as body temperature, is outside its normal range, we say that that creates a homeostatic imbalance. Then we get into the control mechanisms. The stable environment is maintained by homeostatic control mechanisms. In this part of the study guide, I list the components of the mechanism, the receptor, the control center, and a little further down here, the effector, all very nicely summarized very concisely. And then I talk about the difference between negative feedback mechanisms and positive feedback mechanisms in this area. Then I give you, and if you listen to my vodcasts, I will explain in the vodcasts that the language of anatomy is not part of the lecture course, it's only a lab topic. So there's some real advantages to actually making it through the vodcast, because basically what I talk about is what I'm going to ask you about. Not only in the quizzes and in the homework, but on those midterm and final exams that where you're not able to use outside resources. Okay, so you have now done a significant amount of work Once you have these study guides prepared, you need to spend some quality time with them before the midterm, and then for those chapters that are related to the final, the second half of the course, spend a significant amount of time with those study guides that you have for the final chapters. Okay, so if we go back to the PowerPoint presentation, then we've got the study guide made. So what's relevant to put on flashcards? Well, if we go back to the objectives here, you might want to put the definition of anatomy and physiology on a flashcard. So how would you do that? You would write anatomy on one side, and on the other side the definition of anatomy, and then physiology on another flashcard on the front, and then on the back put the definition of physiology. You may want to put organ systems on one side of one of the organ systems, and then on the other side have the function and the organs. So it really depends on how you learn, and this is what's necessary and also very important to figure out before you take the first midterm assessment. I also want to just briefly go to, let's open up a new tab here and go to the mastering site. Okay, you're going to do your homework here on the assignments, but if you go to the study area, let's go to a difficult chapter later on in the semester. The fundamentals of nervous system. Okay, so this part is your textbook. There's some histology here, but there's some A and P flicks here. So if you were confused or need more explanation about the resting membrane potential or the propagation of an action potential, these are really informative little A and P flicks.
Action potentials propagate in a continuous fashion in unmyelinated axons. Once an action potential...
So I won't have you listen to the whole thing, but I just want you to know that there are some A and P flicks here that are very useful. There's some video tutors where there's another instructor that will explain all of these topics for you if my explanations needed some more work, that you just needed a little bit different way to explain things. I also want you to know that there are, oops, I want to go down here, there are study tool sections on A and P, and there are flashcards here if you don't want to make your own. And here you can scan to access the flashcards on your mobile device. So you can try using these interactive flashcards, and there's also there's some glossary things here for you too. So you have a tremendous amount of information available to you. What's important is that you spend the time necessary in order to learn it. So let's go back to the PowerPoint and see where we are. I've brought you to the mastering site. Let's go back just briefly to the Bio 115 e-learning site, and here are the two pages on useful videos and useful websites. So the useful videos are organized by chapter, and then and so on to the useful websites. So there may be some websites here that will help explain things further for you if you're having difficulty. And you can always email me with questions in order to get your questions answered. I also highly recommend that if you can, that you attend the Adobe Connect sessions. Those can be one-on-one with me, working through the chapters and getting your questions answered. And I can't say this often enough. If you have issues, let me know. Email me and let me know what your problems are.